Modernization refers to the process in which society goes through urbanization, industrialization, and social changes that completely transform the lives of the individuals belonging to it. The concept of modernity stems from social evolution theories in which societies are described as having a standard evolutionary pattern. According to these theories, the more modern a state is, the greater its wealth and power is, the freer its citizens are, and the higher the standard of living is. China is undergoing this process, and at an extremely rapid pace, quickly rising as one of the world's leading economic forces. This modernization of its infrastructure and culture are influencing changes that are staggeringly consequential in their effects.
A perfect example would be the process of urbanization. Through a push for a more globally competitive society, China is pushing ahead with a sweeping plan to move 250 million rural residents into newly constructed towns and cities over the next dozen years. The government's plan is to integrate at least 70% of the population into city living by the year 2025, a scale so large that the number of brand new city dwellers will be close to that of the total urban population of the United States, a country already bursting with megacities. The problem with this massive displacement plan is that many rural dwellers lack the necessary education to be competitive in the Chinese job market, which further increases the unemployment rate. Another problem that has arisen in recent years is the number of suicides in defiance with this plan. There have been many cases of men and women climbing to the tops of their rural houses and setting themselves aflame in protest. This redevelopment plan is not only present in the countryside, but also within the urban centers as well, especially Beijing. One massive problem that this urban society is facing is the destruction of the hutongs, or what can best be described as traditional Chinese neighborhoods filled with traditional-style courtyard homes, close-knit communities, and deep-set cultures and traditions. With the destruction of these communities also comes the problem of population displacement in an already overcrowded city, and the uprooting of many families' livelihood and businesses. Being built in the hutongs' place are high-rise apartments, skyscrapers, and shopping malls. Many of the residents cannot afford to live within these new apartment complexes, so they are forced to relocate elsewhere. The government often offers up compensation for the destruction of their homes, but this compensation is not normally met, and those who attempt to stay are often evicted through force. The greatest problem, however, with the destruction of these communities is the loss of tradition and culture. The people who have established long-lasting relationships are forced apart, and the culture of the hutong is destroyed. This is especially unsettling as it exemplifies the destruction of many of the cultures and traditions that make China so special in an attempt to modernize.
We're here in the capital for this story because Beijing's small alleyways and courtyards known as hutongs have been the cradle of life for centuries, and Dashila is one of the city's oldest. But now residents there may soon be relocated from the 500-year-old community after signing an agreement with the government. District authorities say overcrowding has made these ancient structures unsafe to live in. But as Grace Brown reports to us, many who live in them say they're still unwilling to leave.
For centuries, hutongs were the fabric of Beijing society. Families shared alleyways, courtyards and meals with their neighbours. Mr. Xu has a lifetime of memories in Dashila Hutong.
I've lived here since I was small. For 60 years, I played shuttlecock in the street with other families' children. Nothing has changed on this street.
But the future of Dashila is now uncertain. With new developments crowding Dashila, authorities say it's now unsafe to live in. They're considering clearing the area to preserve it. A draft plan says residents will be relocated and their new homes improved. But whether the original residents in the heart of old Beijing will be willing to leave is another matter.
I live very near to my store. If I had to move, I'd probably have to close it down.
Reached by phone, a local government spokesperson refused to say whether the buildings will be torn down. The shadows and descendants of past Peking have attracted hordes of foreign tourists who say it won't be the same without them.
It's kind of a shame because It's very cool to come here and see real China and see how really work it or used to work. Yeah, it's very important because people make the city what it is.
Yeah,
People walking on the street, people living it. So that's what really matters.
But after decades of decay, some residents say Hutong life is getting harder.
Culture? I'm old now. I'd rather be warm. The wind is freezing. I don't have enough heating. I'm waiting to be moved.
In the last 20 years alone, Beijing has doubled in size to 20 million residents. The newcomers in the capital need homes, jobs and conveniences that traditional Hutong life just can't supply. But experts say rapid urbanization should still preserve the past.
In a lot of cases, we have seen when people moved out from the inner city, and they have obtained better houses provided by government, but at the same time, they have to suffer from longer commuting. They have to suffer a worsened sort of accessibility to jobs, to public services, and most importantly, they have lost their old social bonds that they have developed.
It's likely many who are moved from Dashila will be given new apartments. Those with deep roots here say the modern conveniences of apartment living, such as a private kitchen and toilet, aren't enough to make them go willingly. Grace Brown, CCTV, Beijing.
As the Chinese economy rapidly grows due to the substantial increase in industrialization, so too do the environmental stresses and the hazards that come with it. Densely populated regions of China are now threatened by air pollution that often blocks out the sun with a gray haze, contaminated drinking water and water shortages, freshwater and marine pollution, and deforestation. This is becoming a major problem, as the Ministry of Health has recently reported that cancer is now one of the leading causes of death in China, and lead poisoning is now all too common, especially among children, which often leads to sickness and death.
Due to this rapid industrialization, more and more energy is being demanded. The construction of the Three Gorges Dam began in 1994 to accommodate this sharp increase in demand. However, several negative effects have occurred due to the construction of this energy producer. The banks of the river that the dam was built upon have collapsed in hundreds of places, thousands of landslides have occurred, flooding is an extreme hazard in many areas, and modern geologists have also developed a theory that this dam may be to blame for the increase in earthquakes within the mainland due to its influence on the major reformation of the geology around it. 1.4 million people have been forced to relocate as well due to the hazardous conditions that this dam has created in the surrounding countryside. The floods caused by this construct have submerged 13 cities, 140 towns, and 1,350 villages. With this comes a loss of many of the unique traditional architectures, cultures, and traditions found in these small societies.
Now we want to hear your opinion on the subject matter. It is often stated that the more modern something is, the less traditional it becomes, and vice versa. Do you believe in this statement? Is it possible for modernity and traditionalism to coexist? And if so, how? Also, how do you think China should go about trying to preserve its traditions and environment? Would you agree that China's age of industrialization is similar to that of the United States? Why or why not?